Mother Bear cuddled the baby through final checkup echoes. What happened next was shocking. Let us know where you're watching from. If you love my content, consider supporting it with a super thanks. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It'll help us to remain in touch with amazing people like you. The rain hammered against the small clinic windows like angry fists. Inside the warm building, Dr. Elena Rodriguez wiped her tired eyes and looked at the clock. It was almost midnight, and she had been working for 16 hours straight. The small mountain clinic rarely saw emergencies this late, but tonight was different. A soft whimper came from the examination room. Elena hurried toward the sound, her shoes squeaking on the polished floor. When she pushed open the door, her heart nearly stopped. There, in the corner of the room, sat the biggest brown bear she had ever seen. The massive creature was holding something tiny and precious in her huge paws. A human baby, no more than 8 months old, was nestled against the bear's warm fur. The baby was sleeping peacefully, his tiny chest moving up and down with each breath. "How did you get in here?" Elena whispered, her voice shaking. The bear looked up at her with intelligent brown eyes. There was no anger or fear in those eyes, only something that looked like concern. The bear made a low rumbling sound, almost like she was trying to speak. She gently adjusted the baby in her arms, making sure he was comfortable. The little one stirred slightly but didn't wake up. His small fingers were wrapped around a tuft of the bear's thick fur. Elena's medical training kicked in. She moved slowly toward the strange pair, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. "Easy, Mama Bear," she said softly. "I just want to help." The bear watched every move Elena made. When the doctor got close enough, she could see that the baby's lips were turning slightly blue. His breathing was shallow, and there were dark circles under his tiny eyes. This child was very sick. "Where did you find him?" Elena asked, even though she knew the bear couldn't answer. She had seen many things in her 20 years as a doctor, but nothing like this. Wild animals didn't just bring sick human babies to clinics. It was impossible. The bear made another soft rumbling noise. She carefully lifted the baby and held him toward Elena. The message was clear. She wanted the doctor to take the child. Elena reached out with trembling hands. The baby was so small, so fragile. As soon as she touched him, she could feel how cold his skin was. His little body was fighting something serious. "Thank you," she whispered to the bear, though she still couldn't believe what was happening. The massive animal had somehow known that this baby needed medical help. She had brought him to the right place. As Elena cradled the baby, she noticed something strange. There were no bite marks on the child's clothes, no scratches or signs of harm. The bear had been incredibly gentle with him, more gentle than some humans Elena had seen with their own children. The baby opened his eyes for a moment. They were bright blue, like the sky on a clear summer day. He looked at Elena and made a tiny cooing sound before his eyes drifted shut again. "We need to run some tests, little one," Elena murmured. She looked back at the bear, who was still sitting in the corner. "You can stay if you want. Something tells me you're not going anywhere." The bear tilted her head, as if she understood every word. She moved closer to the examination table where Elena had placed the baby. Her massive paw gently touched the edge of the table, and she made a soft whining sound. Elena began her examination. The baby's temperature was dangerously low. His heartbeat was weak and irregular. When she listened to his lungs with her stethoscope, she heard a strange crackling sound. This child had been exposed to something terrible. "Where are your parents, sweet boy?" Elena asked the sleeping baby. She checked his tiny wrists and ankles for any identification, but found nothing. No hospital bracelet, no note, no clue about who he was or where he came from. The bear moved even closer. She sniffed the air around the baby, her nose twitching. Then she did something that made Elena's heart skip a beat. The bear began to hum. It was a low, deep sound that seemed to vibrate through the entire room. The baby's breathing immediately became steadier. His little face relaxed, and some color returned to his cheeks. Incredible, Elena breathed. She had read about animals using sound vibrations for healing, but she had never seen it in person. The bear was somehow helping the baby with her humming. Elena quickly set up the monitors she would need. Heart rate, oxygen levels, blood pressure, all the machines that would tell her what was wrong with this mysterious child. As she worked, the bear never stopped her gentle humming. The first readings made Elena's stomach drop. The baby's oxygen levels were critically low. His heart was working too hard to pump blood through his tiny body. Whatever had happened to him, it was serious enough to be life-threatening. "Don't worry, Mama Bear," Elena said, surprising herself by talking to the animal like she was human. "I'm going to help him." The bear stopped humming and looked directly at Elena. Those intelligent brown eyes seemed to be studying the doctor's face. Then, slowly, the bear nodded. It was a small movement, but Elena was sure she had seen it. Thunder crashed outside, making the clinic's walls shake. The lights flickered for a moment before coming back on. Elena jumped, but the bear didn't move. Nothing seemed to frighten this incredible creature. As Elena prepared to draw blood for testing, she noticed something else strange. The baby's clothes were completely dry, even though the bear's fur was soaked from the rain. How was that possible? She looked more closely at what the child was wearing. A simple white onesie and a small blue blanket. Both items were clean and seemed to be in good condition. Someone had been taking care of this baby before. Before what? The bear made another soft sound and gently touched the baby's forehead with one massive paw. The little one stirred and opened his eyes again. This time, he looked right at the bear and smiled. A real, genuine baby smile that lit up his entire face. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. Whatever the story was here, there was clearly a bond between this wild animal and this human child. A bond that had somehow brought them both to her clinic on this stormy night. The baby reached up with one tiny hand and grabbed onto the bear's fur again. The bear leaned down and made a soft snuffling noise near the child's ear. The baby giggled, a sound so pure and sweet that it filled the entire room with warmth. "You two know each other, don't you?" Elena said softly. "This isn't the first time you've met." As if responding to her words, the bear looked at Elena and made a series of low grunts. The sounds were different from before, more urgent, more specific. Like she was trying to tell Elena something important. Elena wished she could understand what the bear was trying to say. She had a feeling that this incredible animal held the key to solving the mystery of who this baby was and what had happened to him. The monitors began beeping steadily as they recorded the baby's vital signs. Elena studied the numbers and felt her concern growing. This child needed immediate medical attention, possibly even surgery. But first, she needed to know more about his condition. "I have to make some phone calls," Elena told the bear. "Other doctors need to know about this little one. Will you stay with him while I'm gone?" The bear moved closer to the examination table and gently placed her huge head near the baby's feet. The message was clear. She wasn't going anywhere. Elena stepped into the hallway and pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking as she dialed the number for the regional hospital. How was she going to explain this situation? Who would believe that a wild bear had brought a sick baby to her clinic? As she waited for someone to answer, Elena could hear the bear's gentle humming starting again. The sound drifted through the closed door, and she found herself feeling calmer just listening to it. "Emergency services," a voice said on the phone. Elena took a deep breath. "This is Dr. Rodriguez at the Mountain View Clinic. I need to report a medical emergency involving an infant, but there's something else you need to know." She paused, looking back toward the examination room where an impossible friendship was unfolding. "There's a bear involved, a very special bear." The voice on the other end went silent for a long moment. Elena could almost hear the confusion through the phone. "I'm sorry, Dr. Rodriguez, did you say a bear?" "Yes, a large brown bear. She brought the baby here. The child is in critical condition, but the bear, she's not aggressive. She's protecting him." Elena ran her free hand through her hair, knowing how crazy she sounded. "Ma'am, we're going to need to send animal control along with the medical team. This sounds extremely dangerous." "No," Elena said quickly. "You don't understand. The bear is helping the baby. If you come with tranquilizer guns and cages, you might make things worse. This baby needs her." Elena could hear muffled voices in the background as the dispatcher talked to someone else. Finally, the voice returned. "We're sending Dr. Marcus Webb from Pediatric Intensive Care. He should be there in 40 minutes. Please stay on the line and keep yourself safe, doctor." Elena hung up the phone, her heart racing. 40 minutes felt like forever when a baby's life was hanging in the balance. She hurried back to the examination room, hoping the bear was still there. When she opened the door, she gasped. The bear had moved the baby to her chest and was lying on the floor, curled around the tiny child like a living blanket. The monitors were still attached, showing that the baby's vital signs had actually improved while Elena was gone. But that wasn't what made Elena stop breathing. The baby was glowing. Not with bright light, but with a soft, warm, golden glow that seemed to come from within his skin. The bear's fur, where it touched the baby, was glowing too, creating a circle of gentle light in the dark room. Elena rubbed her eyes, thinking she was seeing things from exhaustion. But when she looked again, the glow was still there, soft and peaceful, like candlelight. "What are you?" Elena whispered, stepping closer. The bear looked up at her with those intelligent eyes and made a soft chuffing sound. The baby stirred in the bear's arms and opened his blue eyes. For a moment, they glowed with the same golden light. Elena's medical training warred with what she was seeing. This was impossible. Humans didn't glow. Bears didn't bring babies to hospitals. None of this could be real, but the monitors didn't lie. The baby's oxygen levels were rising. His heart rate was stabilizing. Whatever was happening between him and the bear, it was healing him. Elena sat down heavily in the chair beside them. "I've been a doctor for 20 years, she said to the bear, feeling foolish for talking to an animal. "I've seen birth defects, genetic disorders, every kind of illness you can imagine, but I've never seen anything like this." The bear shifted slightly, careful not to disturb the baby. She looked at Elena with an expression that seemed almost knowing, like she understood everything the doctor was saying. Thunder rumbled outside again, but this time the lights didn't flicker. The storm seemed to be moving away. Elena glanced at the window and saw something that made her heart skip a beat. There were more animals outside. A family of deer stood near the clinic entrance, completely still despite the rain. An owl perched on the windowsill, its large eyes fixed on the room where Elena sat. Even a small fox had appeared, sitting patiently by the front door. "They're here for you, aren't they?" Elena asked the bear. "You're not just any bear, you're something special." The bear made a low rumbling sound that Elena was beginning to recognize as a response. She was definitely trying to communicate. Elena looked closer at the baby. Now that the glow was steady, she could see other things she had missed before. His skin had tiny freckles that seemed to form patterns. Not random spots, but actual designs that looked almost like constellations. She pulled out a magnifying glass from her medical kit and examined the baby's arms. The freckles definitely formed star patterns. Orion on his left arm, the Big Dipper on his right shoulder. How was that possible? The baby cooed softly and reached toward Elena with one tiny hand. When his fingers brushed against her skin, she felt a jolt of warmth. Not painful, but surprising, like touching sunlight. "Who are you, little star child?" Elena murmured. The bear made another soft sound, almost like she was answering. Elena's phone buzzed with a text message. Dr. Webb was 10 minutes away. She looked at the glowing baby and the massive bear who was protecting him. How was she going to explain this to another doctor? She decided to document everything. Elena grabbed her tablet and started taking pictures. The soft golden glow showed up clearly in the photos. The star pattern freckles were visible. Even the bear's protective posture was captured perfectly. As she took the last photo, Elena heard something that made her freeze. Singing. The bear was singing. Not humming like before, but actual singing. A wordless melody that was hauntingly beautiful. The baby's glow grew brighter as the bear sang, and Elena felt tears streaming down her face. The song was the most beautiful thing she had ever heard. The other animals outside began moving closer to the windows. The deer pressed their faces against the glass. The owl spread its wings. Even the little fox stood on its hind legs, as if trying to see inside. Elena realized they were all listening to the bear's song. Every creature was drawn to it. The baby began making soft cooing sounds in harmony with the bear's melody. His tiny voice blended perfectly with the deep, rich tones of the bear's song. Together, they created music that seemed to fill not just the room, but Elena's entire soul. Suddenly, the baby's glow pulsed brighter. Elena watched in amazement as the light seemed to spread from his body to the bear, then out through the windows to touch each of the animals outside. For just a moment, every living thing around the clinic was connected by that warm, golden light. Then, as quickly as it had started, the glow faded back to its gentle level. The bear finished her song with a soft, low note that seemed to vibrate through the floor. The baby sighed contentedly and closed his eyes, his breathing now completely normal. Elena checked the monitors with shaking hands. All of the baby's vital signs were perfect. Not just improved, perfect. As if he had never been sick at all. "This is impossible," Elena whispered. But she was looking right at it. She heard a car door slam outside. Dr. Webb had arrived. Elena looked at the bear, who was watching her with those intelligent eyes. "He's going to want to take the baby to the hospital," Elena told the bear. "I don't know if I can stop him." The bear gently picked up the baby and stood to her full height. She was enormous, at least 7 feet tall when standing. But even at that size, she moved with incredible grace and gentleness. Elena heard footsteps approaching the clinic door. She looked at the bear one more time. "Please don't hurt him. Dr. Webb is a good man. He just wants to help." The bear nodded. Elena was sure of it this time. She definitely nodded. The clinic door opened, and Elena heard Dr. Webb's voice calling out, "Doctor, Rodriguez, where are you?" "In here," Elena called back, her voice barely steady. "But Marcus, before you come in, I need to warn you about something unusual." She heard his footsteps stop just outside the examination room door. What kind of unusual? Elena looked at the bear, who was cradling the baby protectively. The golden glow was barely visible now, but still there. The baby was sleeping peacefully, completely healthy and safe. The kind that's going to change everything you think you know about medicine, Elena said softly. The door handle turned slowly. Elena held her breath as Dr. Marcus Webb stepped into the room. He was a tall, thin man with kind eyes and graying hair. Elena had worked with him many times over the years, and she knew he was one of the best pediatric doctors in the state. But nothing could have prepared him for what he saw. Dr. Webb stopped dead in his tracks. His medical bag fell from his hand and hit the floor with a loud thud. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. The bear looked at him calmly, still holding the glowing baby. She made a soft greeting sound, almost like she was saying hello. "Elena," Dr. Webb said in a hoarse whisper, never taking his eyes off the bear. "Please tell me I'm hallucinating from too much coffee." "You're not hallucinating, Marcus. Her name is, well, I don't know her name, but she brought this baby here about an hour ago. He was dying, and now—" Elena gestured toward the monitors showing perfect vital signs. "Now he's completely healthy." Dr. Webb slowly picked up his medical bag, his movements careful and deliberate. The bear watched him but didn't seem alarmed. She had somehow sensed that he was there to help. "The baby is glowing," Dr. Webb said matter-of-factly, as if he saw glowing babies every day. "Yes, he is. And Marcus, there's more." Elena quickly told him about the bears singing, the other animals outside, and the star-patterned freckles on the baby's skin. Dr. Webb listened without interrupting, his scientific mind trying to process information that defied every law of nature he knew. When Elena finished, Dr. Webb was quiet for a long moment. Then he did something that surprised her. He sat down on the floor, cross-legged, and looked up at the bear. "Hello," he said simply. "I'm Dr. Webb. I'm here to help your baby." The bear tilted her head, studying this new human. Then, very slowly, she walked over to Dr. Webb and gently placed the baby in his arms. Elena gasped. The bear had trusted Dr. Webb immediately. But as soon as the baby left the bear's arms, his glow began to fade. His breathing became shallow again, and the monitors started showing declining vital signs. "He needs her," Dr. Webb said, quickly handing the baby back to the bear. "She's not just protecting him, she's keeping him alive." The moment the baby was back in the bear's arms, his glow returned and his vital signs stabilized. The connection between them was obvious and undeniable. Dr. Webb stood up and looked at Elena. "In 30 years of medicine, I have never seen anything like this. This child and this bear have some kind of symbiotic relationship. Separating them could kill him." "So, what do we do?" Elena asked. Before Dr. Webb could answer, they heard something that made all three of them freeze. The sound of multiple vehicles approaching the clinic. Car doors slamming. Voices shouting orders. Elena ran to the window and felt her heart sink. Animal control trucks. Police cars. An ambulance. Someone had called in the full emergency response team. "We have to hide them," Elena said urgently. But the bear was already moving. She carried the baby toward the back of the clinic, moving with surprising speed for such a large animal. Elena and Dr. Webb followed her down the hallway to Elena's private office. The bear seemed to know exactly where she was going. She settled into the corner behind Elena's desk, where she would be hidden from anyone entering the room. The baby was still glowing softly in her arms, completely peaceful despite the chaos outside. "Dr. Rodriguez," a loud voice called from the front of the clinic. "This is Animal Control. We need you to evacuate the building immediately." Elena looked at Dr. Webb, then at the bear and baby. She had to make a choice. Follow protocol and let them take the bear away, potentially killing the baby, or protect this impossible family, even if it meant risking her career. She thought about the bear's song, the baby's healing glow, the way they looked at each other with such love and trust. "Marcus," Elena said quietly, "are you with me?" Dr. Webb looked at the bear, who was watching them with those intelligent eyes. The baby stirred in her arms and opened his glowing blue eyes, looking right at the doctor. "I became a doctor to save lives," Dr. Webb said. "If that means protecting a miraculous bear and a glowing baby from people who might not understand, then yes, I'm with you." The bear made a soft, grateful sound. She seemed to understand that these two humans were now her allies. Heavy footsteps echoed through the clinic as the emergency team searched the building. Elena knew they only had minutes before someone found them. "There has to be another way," Elena whispered. The bear looked toward the window in Elena's office. It faced the back of the building, where the forest began. Elena followed her gaze and understood. "You want to leave," Elena said. "But where will you go? The baby still needs medical monitoring." The bear stood up, cradling the baby carefully. She walked to Elena and gently touched the doctor's hand with her massive paw. Then she did something extraordinary. She spoke, not in words, but Elena heard her voice clearly in her mind. A warm, maternal voice filled with wisdom and love. "We must go to the heart of the forest. There are others who can help, but we will need you to come with us. The baby trusts you, and trust is more powerful than any medicine." Elena staggered backward. Did I hear you in my head?" Dr. Webb was staring at both of them. "Elena, your eyes just glowed for a second. The same golden light as the baby." The bear's mental voice came again, this time addressing both doctors. "The baby is not entirely human. He is a bridge between your world and ours. He was born to heal the rift that has grown between humans and nature. But he is still very young, very fragile. He needs protectors from both worlds." "What are you?" Dr. Webb asked out loud. "I am what your people call a guardian. My kind has protected special children for thousands of years. This little one is the most important child born in a century. His healing light can restore balance to the world, but only if he survives to grow strong." Elena felt tears running down her face. She looked at the baby, who was watching her with those bright blue eyes. He reached toward her with one tiny glowing hand. "The forest will keep him safe while he grows," the bear continued. "But he will need human medical knowledge as well as our ancient wisdom. Will you help us?" Elena heard the searchers getting closer to her office. She looked at Dr. Webb, who nodded slightly. "How?" Elena asked. The bear moved toward the window. "Open this and trust in something greater than science." Elena's hands shook as she unlocked the window and pushed it open. The rain had stopped, and the forest beyond was bathed in moonlight. She could see a path leading into the trees that she had never noticed before. "Dr. Rodriguez." The voice was right outside her office door now. "We know you're in there." The bear climbed gracefully through the window, still holding the baby. She turned back to look at Elena and Dr. Webb. "Choose quickly. Come with us and help save this child, or stay and watch them destroy what they don't understand." Elena looked at her diplomas on the wall, her medical degree, her certificates and awards. 20 years of building a career and a reputation. Then she looked at the glowing baby and the bear who loved him. She climbed through the window. Dr. Webb was right behind her. As soon as their feet touched the forest floor, Elena felt something incredible happen. The golden light that surrounded the baby spread to include all of them. The bear, the baby, Elena, and Dr. Webb were all connected by threads of warm, healing light. Elena felt strength flowing through her body. Her exhaustion from the long day disappeared. Her vision became sharper. She could hear the heartbeat of every living thing in the forest. "Welcome to the real world," the bear said in her mind. "Now you can see what has always been here." Elena gasped as the forest revealed its secrets. Trees that glowed with their own inner light. Flowers that sang in the wind. Animals that looked at her with the same intelligence she had seen in the bear's eyes. "This is impossible," Dr. Webb whispered, but he was smiling as he said it. The baby cooed happily and reached toward the glowing trees. His light pulsed brighter, and Elena saw the forest respond. Flowers bloomed instantly. Wounded animals approached and were healed by the baby's glow. "He really is a bridge," Elena said in wonder. Behind them, the clinic was full of shouts and confusion as the search team tried to figure out where everyone had gone. But Elena no longer cared about that world. She was part of something much bigger now. The bear began walking deeper into the forest, following the moonlit path. Elena and Dr. Webb walked beside her, still connected by the golden light that flowed from the baby. "Where are we going?" Elena asked. "To meet the others," the bear replied. "The Council of Guardians has been waiting for this baby to be born. They will teach him to use his gifts, and they will teach you both how to help him." As they walked deeper into the magical forest, Elena realized that her life had just changed forever. She was no longer just a doctor. She was a protector of miracles. The baby looked up at her and smiled, his blue eyes sparkling with starlight. Elena smiled back, feeling more purpose than she had ever felt in her life. Behind them, the clinic grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared entirely. Ahead of them, the forest grew brighter and more beautiful with each step. Elena Rodriguez, doctor of medicine, was about to learn about healing in ways she never could have imagined. The forest path wound deeper into the mountains, lit by moonbeams that seemed to dance between the glowing trees. Elena's feet moved silently on the soft earth, as if the forest itself was cushioning their steps. Beside her, Dr. Webb walked in stunned silence, his eyes wide as he took in the impossible beauty surrounding them. The baby had fallen asleep in the bear's arms, his golden glow now steady and peaceful. Every few steps, the bear would hum softly, and the trees would sway in response, their branches creating a canopy of living light above them. "How long has this world existed?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She didn't want to disturb the magical quiet of the forest. The bear's mental voice was warm and patient. "Always. Your people simply forgot how to see it. Cities and concrete walls built barriers not just in your world, but in your minds. You stopped believing in magic, so magic stopped revealing itself to you." Dr. Webb reached out to touch a glowing flower, and it pulsed brighter at his contact. "My daughter used to tell me she could see fairies in our garden. I told her it was just her imagination." "Children see more clearly," the bear explained. "Their hearts are still open. This little one will help adults remember how to see again." As if responding to the conversation, the baby stirred and opened his eyes. He looked around at the glowing forest with wonder, reaching toward the lights with his tiny hands. Where his gaze fell, the forest grew brighter. Elena noticed something new. Other creatures were joining them on the path. A family of deer walked alongside them, their fur shimmering with silver light. Rabbits hopped between the trees, leaving trails of sparkling footprints. Overhead, owls glided silently, their wings catching starlight. "They're all coming to see him," Elena realized. Word travels fast in the forest, the bear confirmed. Every creature knows that the bridge child has awakened. They want to welcome him home. The path began to climb upward, winding around massive trees that Elena was sure hadn't existed when she first moved to this mountain town 5 years ago. These trees were ancient, their trunks so wide that it would take 20 people holding hands to circle them. As they climbed higher, Elena could hear something in the distance. Music. Not the bears humming, but actual orchestral music, as if a full symphony was playing somewhere ahead of them. "What is that?" Dr. Webb asked. "The Singing Grove," the bear replied. "It's where the council meets. The trees themselves make music when important decisions must be made." The baby began to coo excitedly, as if he recognized the music. His glow pulsed in rhythm with the distant melody, and Elena felt her own heartbeat synchronizing with the sound. They rounded a bend in the path, and Elena gasped. Ahead of them was a clearing unlike anything she had ever seen. Massive trees formed a perfect circle, their branches intertwined high above to create a natural cathedral. The music was coming from the trees themselves, their branches swaying and rubbing together to create the most beautiful harmony Elena had ever heard. But the trees weren't the most amazing part. In the center of the clearing sat 7 other bears. Each one was as large as the bear carrying the baby, but they were all different colors. A pure white bear sat to the north, her fur sparkling like fresh snow. A golden bear sat to the east, his coat shining like sunlight. A deep blue bear sat to the west, her fur dark as the ocean. The others were silver, green, red, and black, each one magnificent and powerful. "The Council of Guardians," the bear explained. "My sisters and brothers who have protected special children throughout history." Elena felt a wave of ancient power wash over her as the 7 bears turned to look at their small group. These creatures were old, not just in years, but in wisdom and purpose. Their eyes held the knowledge of centuries. The white bear spoke, her mental voice clear and strong. "Welcome, healers of the human world. We have been waiting for you." The baby made a happy gurgling sound and reached toward the assembled bears. Each one of them responded with soft rumbles of greeting, their voices creating a harmony that seemed to resonate through Elena's very bones. Dr. Webb stepped forward, his medical bag still clutched in his hand. "I don't understand any of this, but I know that baby needs continued medical care. His vital signs were critical when we found him." The golden bear stood and approached them. When he spoke, his voice was warm and gentle. "Dr. Marcus Webb, your concern honors you. But look at the child now. Does he appear sick to you?" Elena looked down at the baby, who was now practically glowing with health and happiness. His cheeks were pink, his eyes bright and alert. He was giggling at the light show the trees were creating above them. "He's perfectly healthy," Elena admitted. "But how? An hour ago he was dying." The blue bear answered. "The little one was not sick in the way your medicine understands sickness. He was separated from his source of power, the natural world. When humans cut themselves off from nature, they begin to die slowly. This child, being a bridge between worlds, felt that separation more acutely than most." The bear who had brought them to this place, Elena realized she still didn't know her name, gently placed the baby on the soft grass in the center of the circle. Immediately, flowers began blooming around him. The grass grew greener and more lush. Even the music from the trees became more beautiful. "His name is Lucas," the white bear said, as if reading Elena's thoughts. "It means light bringer in your language. And you are right to wonder about my sister's name. She is called Aria, for she was born singing." Aria. It suited the bear perfectly. Elena watched as Arya settled down beside baby Lucas, still protective but allowing the other guardians to see him clearly. The red bear, who had been silent until now, spoke with urgency in her mental voice. The child is safe for now, but there are dangers. Not all humans have forgotten the old magic. Some remember it and want to use it for dark purposes. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. What kind of dangers? The silver bear answered grimly. There are those who would steal the child's light for themselves. They believe that consuming his power would make them immortal. Others would try to weaponize his abilities, turning his healing light into something destructive. Dr. Webb sat down heavily on a fallen log. So we can't just protect him here in the forest? He'll always be in danger? The green bear, whose fur seemed to contain every shade of the forest, spoke gently. All powerful gifts come with great responsibility and great risk, but Lucas is not defenseless. He was born with protectors, not just us, but humans who can bridge both worlds. Elena looked around the circle of ancient bears, feeling the weight of their expectations. You mean us? You want us to help protect him. The black bear, whose fur seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, nodded solemnly. You have already proven yourselves. When faced with a choice between safety and doing what was right, you chose correctly. The child trusts you, and trust creates bonds stronger than any magic. Baby Lucas crawled across the grass toward Elena, leaving a trail of glowing flowers in his wake. When he reached her, he pulled himself up on her leg and looked at her with those bright blue eyes. Elena felt her heart melt as she picked him up. The moment Lucas was in her arms, Elena felt a surge of connection to everything around her. She could feel the heartbeat of every tree, the breath of every animal, the flow of energy through the earth itself. It was overwhelming and beautiful at the same time. The bond grows stronger, Arya observed with satisfaction. Elena Rodriguez, you are no longer just a doctor of human medicine. You are now a healer of the bridge between worlds. Dr. Webb stood up and approached them. If Elena's involved, then so am I. This child saved my faith in medicine tonight. I won't abandon him now. When Dr. Webb touched Lucas's hand, the same surge of connection flowed through him. Elena watched as his eyes widened with wonder, and she knew he was feeling the same overwhelming connection to nature that she had experienced. The golden bear rumbled with approval. Dr. Marcus Webb, you are now a guardian of balance. Your knowledge of human healing combined with understanding of natural magic will help Lucas grow strong. Lucas clapped his tiny hands together, and the sound created ripples of light that spread throughout the clearing. Every flower bloomed brighter, every tree swayed with more grace, and the harmony of the forest music swelled to new heights. But suddenly, the music changed. The harmonious melody became discordant and urgent. The bears all stood at once, their massive heads turning toward the south. "What's wrong?" Elena asked, clutching Lucas closer. Arya's mental voice was tight with concern. Hunters, not the kind who seek animals, but the kind who seek power. They have found our trail. Elena felt her blood run cold. How did they find us so quickly? The white bear was already moving toward the edge of the clearing. The child's light is like a beacon to those who know how to look for it. We knew this day would come, but we hoped for more time. In the distance, Elena could hear sounds that didn't belong in the magical forest. Engines, machines, voices shouting orders. "How many?" Dr. Webb asked, his medical training kicking in as he prepared for crisis. The blue bear was scanning the forest with her enhanced senses. 20 humans. They have weapons designed to capture, not kill. They want the child alive. Lucas began to whimper. as if he could sense the danger approaching. His glow flickered uncertainly, and the flowers around him started to wilt. "His fear is affecting his power," Arya said urgently. "We must calm him, or his light will fade entirely." Elena rocked Lucas gently, humming the melody that Arya had sung in the clinic. Dr. Webb knelt beside them and began checking Lucas's vital signs with a small medical device from his bag. "Heart rate elevated, but not dangerous," Dr. Webb reported. "He's scared, but he's not in medical distress." The bears formed a protective circle around the humans and the baby. Their size was impressive, but Elena wondered if even 7 guardian bears could protect them from 20 armed humans. "There's something else," the red bear said grimly. "Their leader. I can sense dark magic around her. She has stolen power from other magical beings. She is very dangerous." Elena felt Lucas shudder in her arms. His glow dimmed further, and she could see fear in his bright blue eyes. "We need to run," Elena said. The black bear shook his massive head. "There is nowhere to run. They have surrounded the forest. This was planned." The sound of approaching vehicles grew louder. Elena could see lights flashing between the trees. Harsh, artificial lights that seemed to hurt the magical glow of the forest. "Then we fight," Dr. Webb said, standing protectively beside Elena and Lucas. The silver bear looked at him with something like admiration. "You are brave, Dr. Webb. But these are not ordinary enemies. They know our weaknesses." As if summoned by their conversation, a woman's voice rang out through the forest. It was cold and commanding, amplified by some kind of magical enhancement. "Guardian bears of the old forest, I am Morgana Blackthorn, and I have come for the Bridge Child. Surrender him now, and I will allow the rest of you to live." Arya snarled, a sound so fierce that it made the trees themselves tremble. "Morgana, I should have known. She has been seeking the Bridge Child for decades. Who is she?" Elena whispered. The white bear's mental voice was filled with old anger. "She was once like you, a human chosen to protect magical children. But power corrupted her. She began stealing the gifts of those she was meant to protect. Now she is neither fully human nor fully magical, and she craves the pure light of children like Lucas to fill the emptiness inside her." Elena looked down at Lucas, who was staring up at her with complete trust. How could anyone want to hurt something so innocent and beautiful? "We have 10 minutes to surrender, or she will begin destroying the forest to flush us out," the green bear reported, his connection to the trees allowing him to sense Morgana's intentions. Elena felt a surge of fierce protectiveness. "We're not surrendering him to anyone." Dr. Webb nodded in agreement. There has to be another way. The golden bear was pacing now, his massive form radiating frustration. "In all our centuries of protecting special children, we have never faced an enemy this powerful. Morgana has the stolen gifts of dozens of magical beings. She can counter almost any defense we create." Lucas suddenly stopped whimpering and looked directly at Arya. His tiny voice made soft cooing sounds, as if he was trying to tell her something. Arya's eyes widened. He's showing me something, a memory. But how can a baby have memories of things that haven't happened yet?" "What kind of memory?" Elena asked. "I see light, incredible light. Not just his light, but the light of every living thing in the forest, all connected, all flowing together. He's showing me how to amplify our power by connecting it to his." The blue bear looked skeptical. "That's never been done before. The risk to the child would be enormous." "But it might work, Doctor," Webb said quietly. "In medicine, we sometimes have to take calculated risks to save a life. If staying here means certain capture, and trying this connection might save him." Elena looked around the circle of ancient, wise bears. Each one was struggling with the same terrible choice: risk everything on an untested magical theory, or watch helplessly as Morgana captured the most important child born in a century. Lucas reached up and touched Elena's face with one tiny, glowing hand. When their skin made contact, Elena saw what he was seeing: a vision of the forest filled with incredible light, of Morgana and her hunters fleeing in terror, of peace returning to the magical world. But she also saw the danger. If the connection failed, Lucas could burn out his own light permanently. He would lose his healing abilities forever, becoming just an ordinary human baby. He's willing to risk it, Elena said softly. He knows what's at stake. Morgana's voice rang out again, closer now. 5 minutes, Guardian Bears. I grow impatient. Arya looked at each of her fellow Guardians, then at Elena and Dr. Webb. If we do this, there's no going back. Success or failure, everything changes tonight. Elena felt Lucas's trust radiating through their connection. This tiny baby was willing to risk everything to protect the magical world that had embraced him. Then let's change everything, Elena said. The bears moved into formation around them, each one placing a massive paw on the ground. Elena and Dr. Webb knelt beside Lucas in the center of the circle, each of them holding one of his tiny hands. Focus on the light, Arya instructed. Don't try to control it, just let it flow through you. Elena closed her eyes and felt Lucas's glow begin to pulse stronger. The light flowed from him into her, then out to Dr. Webb, then to Arya, then to each of the Guardian Bears in turn. As the connection grew stronger, Elena could feel the presence of every living thing in the forest. Thousands of trees, millions of insects, countless birds and animals, all of them connected by threads of living light. More, Lucas seemed to whisper in her mind, though his mouth never moved. All of it, everything. Elena opened her connection wider, and suddenly she could feel beyond the forest. The light spread to the mountains, to distant valleys, to other forests hundreds of miles away. Every magical creature, every guardian, every person with even a spark of natural gift, all of them connected to the glowing baby in her arms. The clearing filled with brilliant light as power from across the continent flowed into their small circle. Elena felt like she was holding the heart of the world itself. Through the connection, she could sense Morgana approaching with her hunters. The dark sorceress was powerful, but she was alone. Her stolen magic was impressive, but it was cold and lifeless compared to the warm, living light that now surrounded Lucas. Now, Arya said, show her what true power looks like. Elena opened her eyes and saw that Lucas was floating gently in the air, surrounded by a sphere of pure, golden light. The light pulsed once, twice, then exploded outward in all directions. The wave of light swept through the forest like a gentle tsunami. Where it touched the hunters' weapons, the metal crumbled to dust. Where it touched their vehicles, the engines simply stopped working. Where it touched Morgana herself. Elena heard the sorceress scream in shock and pain as her stolen magic was stripped away, pulled back to its original owners by the pure force of Lucas's light. The wave continued beyond the forest, healing sick animals, restoring polluted streams, bringing life back to areas that had been damaged by human interference. When the light finally faded, the forest was silent except for the gentle music of the trees. Lucas floated back down into Elena's arms, his glow steady but much dimmer than before. "Is he all right?" Dr. Webb asked urgently, checking the baby's pulse. Lucas opened his bright blue eyes and smiled up at them. He was tired, but completely healthy. The effort had drained him, but not damaged him. Arya lifted her massive head and scanned the forest. Morgana and her hunters are gone. The sorceress has been stripped of her stolen power. She's just an ordinary human now. Her followers scattered when their weapons failed. Elena felt tears of relief streaming down her face. They had done it. They had saved Lucas and protected the magical world. But as she looked around at the bears, she could see that something had changed. Each guardian looked somehow diminished, as if the effort had taken something from them as well. "What did we give up?" Elena asked quietly. The white bear spoke sadly. "Our ability to remain hidden. That much magic being used at once. Every creature with mystical sensitivity for 1,000 miles felt it. The magical world can no longer stay secret." Dr. Webb looked up from examining Lucas. "Is that good or bad?" The golden bear considered the question. "That depends entirely on what humanity chooses to do with the knowledge that magic is real." Elena looked down at baby Lucas, who was falling asleep in her arms. His breathing was steady, his color perfect. He had risked everything to save a world he barely understood, and now that world would never be the same. "Then we'll have to make sure they choose wisely," Elena said. Arya nuzzled Elena's shoulder gently. "The Bridge Child's first great work is complete. He has connected the human and magical worlds permanently. Now comes the harder task, teaching them to live together in harmony." As Lucas drifted off to sleep, Elena realized that her role as his protector was just beginning. The baby had changed the world tonight, and tomorrow that changed world would need to figure out what came next. The singing grove began to play a new melody, not the urgent music of decision-making, but the gentle lullaby of hope for the future. Elena hummed along, her voice joining with Arya's deeper tones and the harmony of the ancient trees. Somewhere in that music was the promise of a better world, where magic and medicine could work together, where humans and nature could heal the old wounds between them. It would be a long journey, full of challenges and dangers Elena couldn't even imagine yet. But as she looked at the sleeping baby in her arms and felt the presence of the guardian bears around her, Elena knew they would face those challenges together. The age of the Bridge Child had begun. As dawn broke over the singing grove, Elena woke to find herself sleeping against Arya's warm fur. Lucas was nestled peacefully between them, his golden glow now a soft, steady pulse like a tiny heartbeat made of light. Dr. Webb was asleep nearby, his medical bag clutched protectively to his chest even in sleep. But something was different about the forest. Elena could hear sounds that didn't belong in their magical sanctuary. Helicopter blades cutting through the air, the distant rumble of heavy vehicles. Most disturbing of all, human voices, dozens of them getting closer. Arya lifted her massive head, instantly alert. "The world has begun to respond to last night's revelation," she said in Elena's mind. "Military forces, government agencies, news media, they're all converging on our location." The other guardian bears were already stirring, their ancient eyes filled with concern. The white bear spoke first, her mental voice grave. "We knew this day would come. When magic was revealed to the world, there would be those who sought to control it." Dr. Webb jerked awake at the sound of approaching helicopters. "How many?" he asked, his medical training making him assess the situation quickly. The blue bear, who Elena had learned was called Tempest, had her head tilted toward the sky. 3 helicopters circling at different altitudes, ground vehicles approaching from 4 directions, approximately 60 humans, heavily armed. Elena felt her heart racing as she looked down at Lucas. The baby was awake now, his bright blue eyes wide with curiosity rather than fear. He seemed fascinated by the new sounds, reaching toward the sky as if he wanted to touch the helicopters. They're not here to hurt him, Elena realized suddenly. They're here to study him. The golden bear, whose name was Solaris, rumbled with displeasure. Which may be worse. A child is not a laboratory specimen. As if summoned by their conversation, a loud voice echoed through the forest from a helicopter's speaker system. "This is Colonel Sarah Mitchell of the Department of Extraordinary Phenomena. We know you're in there. We're not here to harm anyone. We just want to talk." Arya snorted skeptically. 60 armed soldiers for a conversation. The red bear, called Ember, was pacing anxiously at the edge of the clearing. "There's something else. I can sense other magical beings approaching. Not all of them are friendly." Elena felt a chill of fear. "What do you mean?" "Last night's display of power didn't just alert human authorities," the silver bear, Mercury, explained. "It also called to magical creatures who have been hiding for centuries. Some are coming to meet the bridge child and offer their protection. Others—" He didn't need to finish. Elena understood. Some would come seeking to claim Lucas's power for themselves. Lucas began to fuss, his glow flickering with anxiety. Elena rocked him gently, humming the lullaby that always seemed to calm him. But this time, something unexpected happened. The lullaby began to echo throughout the forest. Not just Elena's voice, but dozens of voices joining in harmony. She looked up in amazement to see that creatures were emerging from the trees to sing along. A family of centaurs galloped into the clearing, their human torsos crowned with flowing hair, their horse bodies powerful and graceful. They added their voices to the lullaby, creating a rich, layered harmony. Behind them came a group of beings Elena had only read about in fairy tales. Tall, ethereal figures with pointed ears and clothes that seemed to be woven from moonbeams and starlight. Elves, real elves, singing in a language that was older than human civilization. "The hidden folk are revealing themselves," the green bear, Sage, observed with wonder. "They're coming to welcome the bridge child." More creatures appeared with each passing moment. A pack of wolves with silver fur that sparkled like diamonds. Eagles with wingspans twice the size of normal birds. Even a small dragon, no bigger than a house cat, perched on the shoulder of one of the elves. Lucas clapped his tiny hands in delight, and each clap sent ripples of golden light through the gathering crowd of magical beings. Where the light touched them, they seemed to become more real, more solid, as if his presence was strengthening their connection to the physical world. But the helicopters were getting louder, and Elena could see armed figures moving through the trees at the edge of the magical gathering. "We have to make a choice, Doctor," Webb said quietly. "Hide Lucas from the human world, or introduce him to it properly." The lead centaur, a magnificent stallion with a silver beard, stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was deep and resonant. "I am Starweaver, elder of the Moonhoof clan. We have watched the human world for centuries, waiting for the bridge child to be born. Perhaps it is time for our peoples to meet formally." One of the elves, a woman with silver hair that moved like liquid mercury, nodded in agreement. "I am Lady Moonwhisper of the Starlight Court. The bridge child's light has awakened magics that have slept for 1,000 years. Hiding is no longer possible." Colonel Mitchell's voice echoed through the forest again. "We're approaching your position. Please make yourselves visible so we can begin peaceful negotiations." Elena looked around at the incredible gathering of magical beings. Centaurs, elves, talking animals, mystical creatures she didn't even have names for. Then she looked down at Lucas, who was gurgling happily as he watched the small dragon perform aerial acrobatics above his head. "What if we controlled the introduction?" Elena suggested. Instead of letting them study Lucas like a specimen, what if we showed them that magic isn't something to be feared or controlled, but something to be respected? Arya's eyes gleamed with interest. A formal delegation. Show them that the magical world has its own government, its own rules, its own dignity. Dr. Webb was checking his watch. We have maybe 5 minutes before they reach us. How do we organize a diplomatic meeting in 5 minutes? Star Weaver stamped one massive hoof, and the sound rang through the clearing like a bell. All in favor of revealing ourselves to the human authorities in a formal capacity. A chorus of voices responded. Growls, neighs, musical elven voices, and the harmonic songs of the mystical creatures. The vote was unanimous. Then let us prepare, Lady Moonwhisper said, raising her hands. Illusion magic. Make us appear as we truly are to human eyes. Elena watched in amazement as the air around them shimmered. The magical creatures became more solid, more present. Their colors became more vibrant, their details sharper. It was as if they had been slightly out of focus before, and now someone had adjusted the lens of reality. Lucas giggled and reached toward the shimmer, his tiny hands catching sparks of the illusion magic. Where he touched it, the magic became stronger, more stable. He's amplifying your magic, Elena realized. Not amplifying, Arya corrected. Purifying. His light removes the barriers between what is real and what is hidden. He makes truth visible. The sound of boots on forest floor announced the arrival of the human delegation. Elena took a deep breath and stood up, still holding Lucas in her arms. Around her, the magical beings arranged themselves in a formal reception line. Colonel Mitchell emerged from the trees first, flanked by 2 soldiers. She was a tall woman with graying hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. When she saw the gathering in the clearing, she stopped dead in her tracks. "Dear God," she whispered. Behind her, more soldiers appeared, followed by people in civilian clothes carrying cameras and recording equipment. Elena could see their faces change from professional skepticism to complete awe as they took in the sight of centaurs, elves, and guardian bears arranged in peaceful formation around a glowing baby. "Colonel Mitchell," Elena called out, stepping forward. "I'm Dr. Elena Rodriguez. This is Dr. Marcus Webb. And this," she lifted Lucas slightly, "is Lucas. I believe you've come to meet him." Colonel Mitchell approached slowly, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. Her eyes never left Lucas, who was looking at her with bright curiosity. "He's really glowing," the colonel said, her voice filled with wonder. "Yes, he is," Elena confirmed. "And these are his protectors and friends." She gestured to the magical beings around them. "I'd like you to meet the Council of Guardians, the Moonhoof Centaur clan, the Starlight Court of the Elves, and representatives from several other magical communities." One of the cameramen raised his equipment, but Starweaver held up a hand. "No recordings without permission from all parties. This is a diplomatic meeting, not a spectacle." Colonel Mitchell turned to address her team. "Lower your weapons. Store the recording equipment until we have consent from all parties." She turned back to Elena. "Dr. Rodriguez, I have to admit we weren't prepared for anything quite like this." Dr. Webb stepped forward. "Neither were we, Colonel. 24 hours ago we thought magic was just fantasy. Now we're part of a world that's far more complex and beautiful than we ever imagined." Lady Moonwhisper approached the colonel with elegant grace. "Colonel Mitchell, I am Lady Moonwhisper, Speaker for the Starlight Court. We understand that the human world has many questions about recent events. We are prepared to answer them, but we must establish certain protocols first." "What kind of protocols?" Colonel Mitchell asked. "The child's safety comes first," Arya said, her mental voice reaching everyone in the clearing. Several of the human soldiers jumped in surprise at hearing a bear speak in their minds. Second, Starweaver added, any information shared must be used to promote peaceful coexistence between our peoples, not to create weapons or methods of control. Elena could see Colonel Mitchell processing this information, her military mind working to understand the implications. You're saying that the magical world wants to establish formal diplomatic relations with human governments? Not wants, the white bear, Aurora, corrected. Must. The Bridge Child's awakening has made it impossible for our worlds to remain separate. We can either work together or face conflict that would devastate both sides. Lucas chose that moment to make a soft cooing sound and reach toward Colonel Mitchell. The woman stepped closer, drawn by something in the baby's expression. "May I?" she asked Elena. Elena hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Colonel Mitchell reached out one finger toward Lucas, who immediately grasped it with his tiny hand. The moment their skin made contact, golden light pulsed through the connection. Colonel Mitchell gasped as she suddenly felt what Elena had experienced, the connection to every living thing in the forest, the sense of peace and harmony that came from Lucas's pure light. Tears began streaming down the colonel's face. I can feel everything, every tree, every animal, every person here. We're all connected. Now you understand, Elena said softly. This isn't about studying Lucas like a science experiment. This is about learning to see the world the way he does, as one living, breathing whole. One of Colonel Mitchell's soldiers approached cautiously. Colonel, we're getting reports from all over the world. Similar gatherings of unusual beings are appearing near major population centers. The phenomenon is global. Ember, the red bear, nodded grimly. Last night's revelation awakened magical communities everywhere. They're following the Bridge Child's example, revealing themselves to human authorities worldwide. Elena felt the weight of that information settling over the gathering. This wasn't just about their small group anymore. Lucas's light had triggered a worldwide transformation. How many? Dr. Webb asked. Lady Moonwhisper closed her eyes for a moment, consulting some form of mystical communication network. Reports are coming in from London, Tokyo, New York, Paris, Sydney, dozens of major cities. Magical beings are presenting themselves to human governments, offering to establish formal contact. Some governments are responding better than others, Starweaver added darkly. We're receiving calls for help from communities where the human response has been hostile. Elena felt Lucas tense in her arms, his glow flickering with distress. He could sense the conflict and fear that was spreading across the world. We have to help them, Elena said. If Lucas's light started this, then maybe it can help heal the fear and misunderstanding. Colonel Mitchell was still holding Lucas's hand, still connected to his light. Dr. Rodriguez, I came here with orders to assess and contain a potential threat. But what I'm feeling, this isn't a threat, this is hope. She turned to address her team. Radio command. Tell them we need to set up a formal diplomatic zone around this area. No weapons, no aggressive actions. We're going to host the first official meeting between human and magical authorities. One of her soldiers looked confused. Ma'am, did you say magical authorities? Colonel Mitchell looked at the gathering of centaurs, elves, and guardian bears, then down at the glowing baby in Elena's arms. Yes, soldier. Magical authorities, because apparently that's our new reality. Lucas giggled and clapped his hands, sending ripples of golden light across the entire clearing. Where the light touched the human soldiers, Elena could see their expressions change from suspicion to wonder. The Bridge Child approves, Arya observed, with something that might have been amusement. Suddenly, the small dragon that had been performing acrobatics earlier landed on Dr. Webb's shoulder. When it spoke, its voice was like tiny silver bells. "More coming," the dragon announced. "Big delegation from the deep courts. They bring news from underwater kingdoms and mountain strongholds. The invitation has been accepted by all the great houses." Elena looked at Dr. Webb, who was staring at the dragon on his shoulder with fascination. "What invitation?" Lady Moonwhisper smiled, an expression that made starlight seem to dance around her face. "The Bridge Child sent out a call last night when he connected all magical beings. Not just a call for protection, but an invitation to a great gathering, the first assembly of all magical peoples in over 3,000 years. Starweaver nodded solemnly. "Representatives from every magical kingdom, every hidden realm, every secret society of mystical beings are coming here to meet the Bridge Child and to decide how our peoples will interact with the human world." Colonel Mitchell released Lucas's hand and stepped back, her expression a mixture of awe and concern. "How many representatives are we talking about?" "Hundreds," Aurora, the white bear, replied. "Possibly thousands. Beings you have never seen, from places you have never imagined. Dragon lords from the deep caverns, phoenix clans from the fire mountains, mirror kings from the ocean depths, fairy courts from the between spaces of reality itself." Elena felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of what was happening. "And they're all coming here? To this forest?" "The Singing Grove is one of the oldest neutral meeting places in the world," Sage, the green bear, explained. "It has hosted peace talks between magical peoples for millennia. It's the perfect place for the great gathering." Dr. Webb was gently petting the small dragon, who seemed to enjoy the attention. "When will they arrive?" "Some are already here," the dragon replied, pointing with one tiny claw toward the sky. Elena looked up and gasped. High above the forest, she could see shapes moving through the clouds. Not helicopters or planes, but flying creatures. Some looked like giant eagles, others like dragons, much larger than the one on Dr. Webb's shoulder. Still, others were shapes she couldn't identify at all. "The aerial delegations," Lady Moonwhisper explained. "They travel fastest." As Elena watched, one of the flying shapes began to descend toward the clearing. It was a magnificent phoenix, its feathers burning with rainbow flames that didn't seem to give off heat. Riding on its back was a figure in robes that seemed to be woven from fire itself. The phoenix landed gracefully at the edge of the clearing, and its rider dismounted with fluid grace. When he removed his hood, Elena saw that he was humanoid, but definitely not human. His skin was bronze and seemed to glow from within. His eyes were like molten gold, and when he spoke, tiny flames danced around his words. "Greetings, Bridge Child," the fire being said, bowing deeply toward Lucas. "I am Lord Pyrrhian of the Flame Courts. We have traveled from the burning peaks to witness this historic moment." Lucas clapped his hands in delight, and his golden light pulsed toward the Fire Lord. Instead of conflicting, the two lights merged beautifully, creating new colors that Elena had never seen before. "Incredible," Dr. Webb breathed. "Light and fire, combining instead of competing." "That is the Bridge Child's gift," Arya explained. "He doesn't just connect our peoples, he helps us complement each other's strengths." More flying figures were descending now, a group of beings that looked like they were made of crystallized wind, riding on clouds that sparkled with their own inner light. A delegation of what appeared to be living trees, their roots and branches intertwined to form a kind of walking forest. Colonel Mitchell was speaking rapidly into her radio. "I need a full diplomatic team here immediately. State Department, UN representatives, anyone with experience in first contact protocols, and get me a direct line to the president. He needs to know that we're about to host the largest diplomatic gathering in human history." Elena looked down at Lucas, who was watching all the arriving delegations with bright, curious eyes. His glow was stronger now, fed by the presence of so many magical beings. He seemed to understand that this was important, that the choices made here would shape the future of both worlds. "Are you ready for this, little one?" Elena whispered to him. Lucas looked up at her and smiled, his blue eyes sparkling with starlight. In that moment, Elena felt a flash of insight that took her breath away. This wasn't just about introducing magical beings to the human world. This was about healing a wound that had existed for centuries, the separation between humanity and nature, between logic and wonder, between science and magic. Lucas wasn't just a bridge between worlds. He was the key to creating a new world where both could exist in harmony. As more delegations arrived from sky, sea, and land, Elena realized that she was about to witness the most important moment in human history. The great gathering was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. A new era was dawning, and its herald was a glowing baby who saw only love and connection where others saw difference and fear. Elena held Lucas a little closer and prepared to help change the world. As the sun reached its zenith above the singing grove, something extraordinary began to happen. The trees themselves started to glow, their ancient bark pulsing with the same golden light that emanated from Lucas. The very air seemed to shimmer with possibility as hundreds of magical beings filled the clearing and the surrounding forest. Colonel Mitchell stood beside Elena, no longer a military officer but a witness to history. "Dr. Rodriguez," she said softly, "I think we're about to see something that will be remembered for all of human history." Elena nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. In her arms, Lucas had grown quiet and still, his bright blue eyes scanning the incredible assembly that had gathered in his honor. Representatives from every corner of the magical world had come, not just to meet him, but to be part of something larger than any of them had ever imagined. Lord Pyrian stepped forward, his flames dancing higher with emotion. "Bridge child," he said, his voice carrying across the entire gathering. "We, the assembled peoples of the hidden realms, have come to witness your light and to pledge our commitment to the new age you have brought forth." Starweaver reared up on his hind legs, his silver hooves catching the sunlight. "For too long, our peoples have lived in shadow and secrecy. Today, the Bridge Child calls us into the light of truth and cooperation." Lady Moonwhisper raised her hands, and starlight began to fall from her fingers like gentle rain. "Let this moment mark the end of the age of hiding and the beginning of the age of harmony." Lucas suddenly began to glow brighter than Elena had ever seen him. The light grew and spread, encompassing everyone in the clearing, magical beings and humans alike. But this time, the light carried something more than just warmth and healing. It carried visions. Elena gasped as images flooded her mind. She saw cities where humans and centaurs worked together to heal damaged landscapes. She saw hospitals where elven healers worked alongside human doctors, combining ancient wisdom with modern medicine. She saw schools where magical and human children learned together, sharing knowledge that had been kept separate for millennia. She saw a world transformed by cooperation instead of divided by fear. Around the clearing, every being present was receiving the same visions. Humans saw the beauty and wisdom of the magical world. Magical creatures saw the ingenuity and compassion of humanity at its best. All of them together saw the possibility of a future where both worlds were stronger because they were united. Dr. Webb was crying openly as the visions filled his mind. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "It's everything we could be." When the visions faded, the clearing was silent except for the gentle music of the wind through the glowing trees. Lucas looked around at all the faces, human and magical, young and ancient, fearful and hopeful, and made a soft cooing sound that somehow carried across the entire assembly. In that moment, Elena understood. The baby wasn't just showing them what could be. He was making it real. His light was creating the connections, the trust, the love that would make those visions possible. Aurora, the white bear, spoke for all the guardians. "The bridge child has shown us the path. Now we must choose to walk it together." Colonel Mitchell stepped forward, her voice strong and clear. "On behalf of the human world, I accept the invitation to build this future together. We have much to learn from each other." One by one, representatives from every magical realm stepped forward to pledge their cooperation. The Dragon Lords rumbled their agreement. The Phoenix clans burst into flame that spelled out promises of peace. The Elven courts sang harmonies of commitment. The Centaur clans stamped their hooves in a rhythm that became a song of unity. As each group made their pledge, Lucas's light pulsed brighter, weaving connections between them all that Elena could actually see, golden threads linking every heart in the gathering. Arya nuzzled Elena's shoulder gently. "The hardest part is over," she said. "The choice has been made. Now comes the work of building the world the bridge child has shown us." Elena looked down at Lucas, who was sleepy now, after using so much of his power. His glow had settled to a gentle, steady light that seemed to promise that this connection would endure. "Will you help us?" Elena asked the assembled magical beings. "Not just with the big things, but with the small ones. Teaching human children to see magic, helping human doctors learn elven healing, building bridges one friendship at a time." Lady Moonwhisper smiled, and her expression held the warmth of starlight. "Dr. Rodriguez, you and Dr. Webb have already begun that work. You chose to trust when trust seemed impossible. You chose love over fear. That is the foundation everything else will be built on." Starweaver approached and knelt beside Elena. "Would you allow me to give the bridge child a blessing? A promise that wherever he goes, the magical world will know he is under our protection?" Elena nodded, and Starweaver gently touched Lucas's forehead with his horn. The baby giggled as silver light flowed from the centaur into him, creating a new layer to his natural glow. "Now he carries the mark of all our peoples," Starweaver explained. "Human and magical beings alike will recognize him as the one who brought us together." Lord Pyrian stepped forward next. "And we pledge that his light will never fade. The fire courts will keep his flame burning bright through any darkness that may come." One by one, every delegation added their own blessing to Lucas. The Dragon Lords gave him the strength of mountains. The Elven courts gave him the wisdom of ages. The tree folk gave him the patience of growing things. The crystalline wind beings gave him the freedom of the sky. By the time they were finished, Lucas was glowing with dozens of different colors, each one representing a different magical people who had pledged to protect and guide him. Dr. Webb was documenting everything with a combination of medical precision and childlike wonder. "Elena, do you realize what we're witnessing? This is the birth of a new age, and we're not just observers, we're part of it." Elena felt tears of joy streaming down her face as she looked around the clearing. Magical beings and humans were mingling freely now, sharing stories, making plans, beginning the friendships that would reshape both worlds. Dr. Rodriguez, Colonel Mitchell approached with a group of people Elena didn't recognize. "I'd like you to meet the first members of the new Department of Magical Relations. If you're willing, we'd like you and Doctor. Webb to head the medical division. Who better to bridge human and magical healing than the doctors who saved the bridge child? Elena looked at Dr. Webb, who nodded enthusiastically. "We'd be honored," she said. As the afternoon wore on, the great gathering began to take on the feel of a celebration. The serious business of establishing diplomatic relations was being handled by the various leaders, but the individual magical beings and humans were simply enjoying the opportunity to meet each other. Elena watched a group of human children who had somehow found their way into the forest, playing with young elves and centaur foals. She saw an elderly human man deep in conversation with a wise dragon about the healing properties of certain crystals. She saw Colonel Mitchell laughing as a small phoenix performed aerial tricks for her amusement. This was Lucas's gift to the world. Not just the magical power or the healing light, but the ability to see past differences to the love and wonder that connected all living things. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the glowing trees, the various delegations began to prepare for departure. They would return to their homes and communities to share the news of what had happened here, to begin the work of preparing their peoples for this new age of cooperation. But before they left, there was one final ceremony. Aurora, the eldest of the guardian bears, stood in the center of the clearing. Today, the bridge child brought our worlds together. But this is just the beginning. The real work starts tomorrow, and every day after that. We pledge to meet here again in 1 year's time, to share what we have learned and to strengthen the bonds we have formed. A great cheer went up from the assembly, human voices and magical harmonies blending together in perfect unity. As the celebration continued around them, Elena found herself in a quiet moment with Arya and Lucas. The baby was content now, his mission accomplished, his gift shared with the world. "What happens to him now?" Elena asked. "Does he go back to being a normal baby?" Arya's mental voice was warm with affection. "There is nothing normal about the bridge child, and there never will be. But yes, he will have a chance to grow and play and learn like any child. The difference is that he will grow up in a world where magic and humanity work together, a world he helped create." Elena looked at Lucas, who was reaching for the first stars appearing in the darkening sky. His glow had settled into something gentle and sustainable, no longer the blazing beacon of transformation, but a steady light of hope and connection. "Will you stay with us?" Elena asked Arya. "Will you help us raise him?" Arya nuzzled the baby gently, her massive form radiating love and protection. "Wild bears do not make good house pets, dear Elena, but I will never be far away, and when the bridge child needs his forest family, we will be here." Dr. Webb approached them, carrying his medical bag and wearing an expression of complete contentment. "I've been offered a position at the new Institute for Magical Human Medical Research. Apparently, they want me to develop treatment protocols that combine the best of both worlds. And I've been asked to establish the first integrated medical center," Elena added. "Human doctors, elven healers, centaur herbalists, all working together." Lucas clapped his hands and giggled, as if he understood that his protectors were going to continue the work he had started. As the last of the magical delegations departed, promising to return in a year, Elena realized that the real adventure was just beginning. They had a baby to raise, a new world to help build, and bridges to construct between peoples who had been separated for far too long. But for tonight, she was content to sit in the singing grove, holding a glowing baby while a bear hummed lullabies and the trees made music above them. The age of the bridge child had begun, and it was going to be extraordinary. Years later, when Lucas was old enough to understand the story of that magical night, Elena would tell him about the moment when magic returned to the world. She would tell him about the bear who loved him enough to bring him to a doctor, about the guardian council who protected him, about the great gathering that changed everything. But most of all, she would tell him about the choice that everyone made that day, the choice to build bridges instead of walls, to seek understanding instead of control, to trust in love instead of giving in to fear. Because in the end, that was the real magic. Not the glowing light or the healing power or the fantastic creatures, but the simple decision to see others as friends instead of threats, to choose cooperation over conflict, to believe that different peoples could work together to build something beautiful. The bridge child had shown them the way. Now it was up to all of them to walk that path together, one step at a time, into a future bright with possibility. As Elena carried the sleeping baby back toward the clinic where their adventure had begun, she could still hear the faint music of the singing grove following them through the forest. It was a song of hope, a melody of promise, a harmony that would echo through both worlds for generations to come. The mother bear had cuddled the baby through his final checkup echoes, and what happened next had indeed been shocking. The world had awakened to magic, and magic, it turned out, was love made visible. The end.